Fear has a way of creeping into your spirit at the very moment when God is calling you to move. You finally see the open door, you feel the nudge to step forward, but suddenly your heart starts racing and your mind floods with doubts. Fear paints pictures of failure that haven't even happened yet. It convinces you to stand still when your destiny requires you to move. Fear is not just an emotion, it's a spiritual blockade. Faith doesn't ask you to have all the answers. Faith says, walk even if the road is foggy. Faith says, step forward even if you don't see the ground beneath your feet. But fear convinces you to wait until everything looks perfect, and in doing so, you miss the timing of God. Fear keeps you stuck at the starting line while blessings are waiting on the other side of obedience. Many times people pray for opportunities, but when the opportunity arrives, they allow fear to choke their decision-making. The promotion shows up, but they think they're not qualified. The relationship appears, but they say they're not ready. Fear convinces you that you're safer in bondage than free in possibility. That's how fear blocks blessings. You can't serve fear and faith at the same time. Fear will always tell you why it can't be done, but faith declares, with God, all things are possible. Fear whispers limitations, but faith shouts expansion. If you give fear the loudest voice, you silence the potential that's within you. Fear doesn't just stop you, it paralyzes everything connected to you. Your family, your purpose, your future, everything suffers when fear takes the wheel. But when you rise in faith, everything shifts. Faith not only opens doors for you, but it also creates legacies for generations after you. When you hesitate too long, opportunities don't wait. Doors can close. Seasons can shift. Fear will have you missing your divine moment simply because you chose comfort over courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move in spite of it. That's why you must silence fear before it silences you. You must look fear in the face and step anyway. Because fear may feel strong, but it has no power over a mind anchored in faith. Your blessing is not always blocked by outside forces. Sometimes it's blocked by what's going on inside you. The wrong attitude can slam doors that prayer alone won't open. God may open a door for you, but if you walk into that room with bitterness, arrogance, or negativity, you can destroy the opportunity before it even starts. Your spirit must be aligned with your assignment. A negative attitude is like a virus. It spreads into your conversations, into your work, into your relationships. It drains the energy from people around you. And eventually people don't want to work with you, be around you, or invest in you, not because you're not capable, but because your attitude blocks the blessing. Gratitude shifts everything. When you approach life with thankfulness, even small things become significant. Gratitude attracts favor while complaining repels it. The way you carry yourself in the waiting season determines how God releases blessings in the next season. If you murmur, complain, and criticize while you wait, you're showing God you're not ready for the next level. Sometimes God is testing not your skill, but your attitude. He wants to see if you can stay faithful in a hard place. He wants to see if you can still smile, still serve, still give, even when life doesn't look like what you expected. Your attitude in the wilderness determines your access to the promised land. You can pray for promotion, but if you show up with entitlement instead of humility, doors will remain shut. You can pray for breakthrough, but if you carry jealousy instead of celebration for others, blessings will pass you by. God will not pour new wine into an old, toxic vessel. The right attitude doesn't just attract blessings, it prepares you to sustain them. Many people lose blessings because their attitude couldn't handle what their prayer requested. A humble, grateful spirit not only opens doors, but keeps them open. So before you look outside for who's blocking you, check your own attitude, because sometimes the only thing standing between you and your blessing is the spirit you carry into the room. Comparison is one of the most silent killers of destiny. It sneaks in without you even realizing it. You start scrolling through your phone, looking at somebody else's highlight reel, and before you know it, you've devalued your own progress. You don't even notice the blessings around you because you're too busy measuring them against somebody else's. The problem with comparison is that it blinds you to your own unique lane. You weren't built to run their race, you were built to run yours. Their timeline is not your timeline, their success is not your success, but when you compare, you begin to resent where you are instead of rejoicing for how far you've come. Comparison leads to jealousy, jealousy leads to bitterness, and bitterness leads to missed blessings. How can God trust you with more if you despise what He has already given you? You block your blessing every time you look at someone else's garden instead of watering your own. What you have may not look like much right now, but it's exactly what you need for this season. Don't downplay your blessing because it doesn't look like theirs. Don't underestimate your progress because it doesn't move as fast as someone else's. The race is not given to the swift, but to the one who endures. When you compare, you rob yourself of peace. You can't even enjoy your own wins because you're measuring them against someone else's. That's why joy keeps slipping through your fingers. You can't celebrate what God is doing in your life while envying what He's doing in someone else's. Blessings don't fall on comparison. They fall on contentment. When you learn to appreciate your journey, your lane, your pace, blessings begin to multiply. Contentment doesn't mean you stop striving. It means you stop despising where you are on the way to where you're going. The truth is, what's for you cannot miss you. No one can take your blessing, no one can steal your assignment, and no one can block your destiny but you. Comparison is the thief of joy, but contentment is the keeper of blessings. Some of the greatest blessings you'll ever receive won't look like blessings at first. They'll come disguised as small opportunities, minor doors, humble beginnings. And if you despise them because they don't look like the big miracle you were expecting, you'll miss the very thing that was designed to grow you into your destiny. We live in a world that celebrates instant results. Everybody wants the big stage, the big paycheck, the big breakthrough, but nobody wants the small start. Yet God often packages blessings in seed form. That small job, that small connection, that small idea, it may be the seed that produces the harvest you've been praying for. People block their blessings when they overlook the seed while waiting on the fruit. They pray for abundance but ignore the small assignment. They pray for promotion but despise the entry-level opportunity. They don't realize that small beginnings build the character needed to handle big blessings. Every major move of God started small. A baby in a manger, a boy with a slingshot, a widow with just a little oil. None of it looked impressive, but it was the beginning of something mighty. If you overlook the small, you'll miss the miraculous. When you embrace small beginnings, you show God that you're trustworthy. If you can be faithful over a few things, He will make you ruler over many. But if you complain over the few, you block the many. Small beginnings test your faithfulness, your humility, and your consistency. The blessing isn't just in the outcome, it's in the process. Every seed planted is a sign of what's to come, but you have to nurture it, water it, protect it, and believe in it, even when it doesn't look like much. That's where real growth happens. Don't block your blessing because it came in a smaller package than you prayed for. Sometimes the smallest seed carries the greatest future. You can pray all day, fast for weeks, and worship for hours, but without obedience, blessings remain locked. Obedience is the master key that unlocks the door to what God has prepared for you. When God gives instructions, He's not testing your ability to hear. He's testing your willingness to move. Many people block their blessings because they hesitate. when God says go. They delay when God says move. They cling to what God says release. And then they wonder why the flow of blessings seems stuck. It's not that God didn't hear their prayer, it's that they didn't heed His instruction. Obedience often doesn't make sense. It may look foolish to others, it may stretch you beyond your comfort zone, but God doesn't ask for your understanding. He asks for your obedience. Every time you obey, you align yourself with His plan, and blessings begin to flow. Think about the times in your life when obedience seemed hard but led to breakthrough. It wasn't easy to forgive, but you did, and peace came. It wasn't easy to give, but you sowed, and provision came. It wasn't easy to walk away, but you left, and freedom came. Obedience may cost you, but disobedience costs you more. Partial obedience is still disobedience. You can't pick and choose which parts of God's instructions to follow. Blessings are tied to complete obedience. Every time you obey halfway, you delay what God has already prepared in full. Obedience is not about rules, it's about alignment. When you align with God's word, you step into the current of His favor. Things begin to work together for your good, not because you forced it, but because obedience positioned you for it. Don't block your blessing with stubbornness or hesitation. What God asks you to do today may be the key to the miracle you've been waiting on tomorrow. You can't step into a new season carrying people who are determined to stay in the old one. Toxic relationships are like weights tied to your ankles. They keep you bound when you're trying to rise. Every time God tries to elevate you, the wrong people pull you back down. Many blessings are delayed not because you're not ready, but because the company you keep is not aligned with where God is taking you. Some people are only meant for a chapter, not the whole book. But when you keep holding on to expired relationships, you block the blessings assigned to your next season. Toxic relationships drain your energy, distort your vision, and disrupt your peace. They convince you to shrink when you should expand. They speak doubt when you're trying to walk in faith. You can't hear God clearly when you're surrounded by voices designed to confuse you. Sometimes letting go is the most spiritual act of obedience you can make. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It means you love God's purpose more. You can't carry everyone with you into destiny. Some people are lessons, not lifetimes. Blessings flow in environments of peace, growth, and alignment. If someone keeps sowing chaos, negativity, and division, they are blocking the flow. It's not personal, it's spiritual. You can't afford to let toxic connections sabotage divine assignments. The hardest part about releasing toxic relationships is the fear of being alone. But sometimes God isolates you so He can elevate you. Don't mistake separation for abandonment. Sometimes it's God's protection. Don't block your blessing by clinging to what God has already cut off. Release the weight so you can rise into your next level. Unforgiveness is like carrying a backpack full of bricks everywhere. You go. Every offense, every betrayal, every wound becomes another weight on your back. You think you're punishing them, but really you're punishing yourself. The blessing is waiting to flow, but unforgiveness clogs the pipeline. When you refuse to forgive, you trap yourself in the pain of yesterday. You replay the conversation, you relive the betrayal, and you re-experience the hurt over and over again. Meanwhile, the people who hurt you may have moved on, but you're still chained to the moment it happened. That's how unforgiveness blocks blessings. It keeps you stuck in the past when God is calling you into the future. Forgiveness doesn't mean what they did was right. It doesn't mean you forget it. It means you release the hold it has on your life. You can't walk forward while you're dragging the chains of bitterness. Releasing them frees you, not them. Blessings require space. You can't receive new joy, new peace, new opportunities if your heart is filled with old resentment. Forgiveness clears the clutter of your soul so that God can pour fresh blessings into it. Until you release the old, you can't receive the new. Think of forgiveness as unclogging a drain. Once the blockage is removed, the water flows freely again. In the same way, when you forgive, the blessings begin to flow again. The prayers you prayed, the seeds you sowed, the sacrifices you made, they start producing fruit because the flow is no longer blocked. Some of the very things you've been waiting for are tied to your willingness to forgive, the peace you crave, the doors you've been knocking on, the favor you've been seeking. It may be on the other side of forgiveness. Don't block your blessing by holding on to old wounds. Release it, let it go, and make room for the fresh outpouring that's already prepared for you. One of the biggest ways people block their blessings is not through external enemies, but through internal conversations. You sabotage yourself before the enemy even gets a chance. Every time you tell yourself, I can't, I'm not good enough, it's too late, you are building walls against your own breakthrough. Your words have power. Life and death are in the tongue. If you keep speaking failure, you'll live in failure. If you keep declaring defeat, you'll walk in defeat. The words you speak to yourself shape the reality you experience. Stop talking yourself out of the very thing God already declared is yours. Negative self-talk becomes a prophecy you fulfill. You say you're not qualified, so you don't apply. You say you can't do it, so you don't try. You say it won't work, so you don't move. You don't fail because it wasn't possible. You fail because you never gave it a chance. Your blessing doesn't need perfect conditions. It needs a willing heart. Stop waiting until everything looks right. Stop waiting until you feel fearless. Start moving with what you have and watch how God meets you in the process. Every great breakthrough began with someone who refused to talk themselves out of it. They felt the fear, they saw the obstacles, but they spoke faith over their situation. They said, I can do this. I am equipped. I am chosen. And blessings flowed because their words aligned with their destiny. The enemy doesn't have to fight you when you're already fighting yourself. That's why you must take control of your mouth. Begin to speak what God says about you, not what fear whispers to you. Don't block your blessing with the lies you tell yourself. Replace I can't with I can. Replace I'm not enough with I am chose. And replace it's too late with my time is now. Consistency is where blessings are born. It's not in the one-time effort, but in the daily grind, the faithful persistence, the ability to keep showing up even when nothing seems to be happening. Many people block their blessings because they quit too soon. You prayed once, but when the answer didn't come immediately, you stopped. You started the business, but when it didn't blow up overnight, you gave up. You sowed seeds, but when the harvest didn't come fast enough, you walked away. Blessings don't come to those who stop. They come to those who endure. Consistency is hard because it requires discipline. It requires you to keep moving forward when motivation runs out. It requires you to keep believing when results are invisible. But consistency is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Think of a farmer. He doesn't plant today and expect a full harvest tomorrow. He waters daily, tends the soil, protects the seed, and waits patiently. If he gives up halfway, he never sees the fruit. That's how many of us live. We sow, but we don't stay consistent enough to see the blessing manifest. Your breakthrough may not come on day 1 or day 10 or day 100, but if you stay consistent, it has to come. Consistency puts pressure on heaven. It demonstrates your faith. It shows God you're serious. Many people pray for blessings they're not willing to be consistent enough to carry. But if you want doors to open, if you want favor to flow, you can't just show up sometimes. You have to show up all the time. Don't block your blessing by quitting too early. Stay consistent, even when it's hard, because blessings have a way of showing up right after most people give up. Distractions don't always look like danger. Sometimes they look like entertainment, comfort, or even opportunity. But make no mistake, distractions are designed to steal your focus and delay your blessing. Every moment you spend distracted is a moment stolen from your destiny. How many hours have slipped away scrolling, gossiping, or chasing things that don't add value to your purpose? How many days have been lost entertaining drama instead of building destiny? Distractions feel harmless, but they are silent blessing blockers. When God gives you vision, the enemy can't destroy it, so he distracts you from pursuing it. He can't take the blessing, but he can take your focus. And without focus, the blessing passes by unclaimed. Distractions can even come disguised as good things. An extra project, a new opportunity, a relationship that looks appealing, but if it doesn't align with your purpose, it's a distraction in disguise. You must learn to discern what's for you and what's simply detouring you. Focus is the currency of destiny. If you invest your focus in the wrong places, you bankrupt your future. But when you fix your eyes on the assignment, blessings begin to multiply. The clearer your focus, the quicker your breakthrough. The enemy doesn't need to make you fall. He just needs to make you wand. A distracted life is a delayed life. Every distraction tolerated is a blessing postponed. Don't block your blessing by giving energy to what doesn't deserve it. Protect your focus like your life depends on it, because your blessing does. Pride is one of the fastest ways to block a blessing. The moment you think you don't need help, don't need advice, don't need correction, you step out of position. Pride says, I already know enough, but humility says, I can still learn. Pride says, I can do it alone, but humility says, I need God. Blessings flow to those who are humble enough to receive. If you think you already have it all together, you won't be open to what God is trying to give. Humility keeps you teachable, approachable, and usable. Pride closes doors that humility could open wide. The blessing you've been praying for might require you to sit under someone else's guidance, but if pride convinces you that you know better, you'll block the very wisdom designed to accelerate your path. Pride always isolates, but humility always elevates. Humility doesn't mean weakness. It means strength under control. It means you're confident enough to acknowledge that everything you have comes from God. You don't boast in yourself. You boast in Him. And when He sees humility, He trusts you with more. Some people lose blessings because they mishandle them with arrogance. They let success make them untouchable. And before they know it, doors start closing. Humility, on the other hand, keeps doors open, keeps favor flowing, keeps opportunities coming. Humility attracts people too. Nobody wants to bless someone who's arrogant, but everybody wants to pour into someone who's humble and grateful. That's why humility not only attracts blessings from heaven, but also from people. Don't block your blessing by letting pride speak louder than gratitude. Stay low enough for God to lift you high. One of the hardest lessons in life is learning that God's timing is not our timing. We want blessings now. We want breakthroughs instantly. But blessings released out of season can become burdens. Sometimes what feels like a delay is actually divine protection. You may think you're ready, but God sees the full picture. He knows what you can handle and what would crush you. That's why He withholds certain blessings until the appointed time. Waiting doesn't mean denial. It means preparation. When you rush ahead of God's timing, you create problems you weren't equipped to solve. You force doors open that weren't meant to open yet, and then you blame God when it doesn't work out. But it wasn't denial. It was disobedience to His timing. Every blessing has a season. Just like fruit on a tree, it ripens at the right moment. If you pick it too soon, it's sour. If you pick it too late, it rots. But if you wait for the right timing, it's perfect. Blessings work the same way. Trusting God's timing means resting even when it feels like nothing is happening. It means believing that while you're waiting, He's working. Behind the scenes, He's aligning people, preparing opportunities, and setting the stage for your breakthrough. Impatience blocks blessings because it leads to shortcuts, and shortcuts take you off the path of destiny. What you compromise to get, you often lose. But what you wait for in God's timing, you keep. Don't block your blessing by rushing. The right thing at the wrong time is still the wrong thing. Trust that God's timing is always on time. Faith is the fuel that drives blessings. But negativity is like water poured on that fire. If you surround yourself with doubters, complainers, and critics, eventually their words seep into your spirit and weaken your faith. You begin to question what God said. Negativity is contagious. One person's doubt can spread like wildfire. That's why you must be careful about who you let speak into your life. If someone constantly feeds your fears instead of your faith, they are blocking your blessing. Faith doesn't grow in negative soil. It grows in environments of encouragement, prayer, and belief. If you want blessings to flow, you have to protect your atmosphere. Create a space where faith is stronger than fear and positivity is louder than doubt. Sometimes you have to silence voices, not because you don't love them, but because you love your destiny too much to let it be poisoned. Protect your peace, protect your spirit, protect your ears. Not every voice deserves access to your vision. The enemy often uses negativity to chip away at your faith. He knows if he can weaken your faith, he can block your blessing. That's why you must guard your heart like a treasure. Your faith is the currency of heaven. Without it, blessings can't be released. Negativity can even come from your own mouth. Every time you speak defeat, you agree with doubt. Every time you complain, you cancel out praise. That's why you must discipline yourself to speak life, even when life feels heavy. Don't block your blessing by letting negativity win. Surround yourself with faith builders, not faith killers. Speak words that align with God's promises, not with fear's lies. So many people are waiting for more before they move. They say, when I get more money, I'll start. When I get more time, I'll try. When I get more resources, I'll build. But blessings are not tied to what you don't have. They're tied to what you do with what you already have. God asked Moses, "What's in your hand?" It was just a staff, nothing special. But when he used it, miracles happened. That's the secret. What seems ordinary in your hand becomes extraordinary in God's hand. But if you refuse to use it, you block the blessing. You don't need more to start. You need to start with what you have. That small gift, that small talent, that small resource. If you use it faithfully, God will multiply it. But if you hide it, bury it, or ignore it, you'll never see the increase. Waiting for perfect conditions is a blessing blocker. Conditions will never be perfect. The right time is now. The right tool is what's already in your hand. God never asks you for what you don't have. He asks you to use what you do have. The miracle is in the movement. Once you start using what's in your hand, doors begin to open, favor begins to flow, and opportunities begin to align. But it starts with movement, not waiting. Don't despise what you have just because it looks small. Small becomes great when placed in God's hands. The very thing you're overlooking may be the key to the blessing you've been waiting for. Don't block your blessing by ignoring the gift God already gave you. Use it and weigh. Him multiply it beyond what you imagined. The past is one of the biggest blessing blockers. You keep replaying what happened, reliving who hurt you, and rehearsing where you failed. Every time you look backward, you lose momentum moving forward. You can't walk into tomorrow while chained to yesterday. Mistakes have a way of haunting you if you let them. The enemy loves to remind you of your failures, not because he can stop your future, but because he knows if you keep staring at the past, you'll never step into the future. The past is a teacher, not a prison. Learn from it, but don't live in it. What happened yesterday was preparation for today, but if you keep reliving it, you block the new blessings waiting to enter your life. Some of you are asking God for new relationships, new opportunities, new doors, but your hands are still full of the old. You can't receive the new while clinging to the old. Release it so your hands are free to receive. The past is over. The pain is real, but it's over. The failure happened, but it's over. The betrayal hurt, but it's over. The only power it still has is the power you give it. Blessings flow in the present, not in the past. If you want to see what God has next, you have to stop staring at what has passed. The windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason. What's ahead of you is greater than what's behind you. Don't block your blessing by living in what God already delivered you from. Your past may explain you, but it doesn't define you. There's a power in praise that most people underestimate. Praise is not just a response to blessing. It's a key that unlocks blessing. When you learn to praise in the problem, when you worship while you wait, you create an atmosphere where miracles can manifest. Complaining blocks blessings. Praise attracts them. You can't complain and praise at the same time. One pushes blessings away, the other pulls them closer. If you want to shift your atmosphere, shift your language from complaint to praise. Praise confuses the enemy. He expects you to break down under pressure, but instead you lift your hands. He expects you to give up, but instead you lift your voice. Praise becomes a weapon that fights battles you can't even see. Praise also shifts your perspective. When you magnify God, your problems start to shrink. The blessing you're waiting on feels closer because you've lifted your eyes off the storm and onto the source. Blessings often fall in environments of worship. When you create space for God's presence through praise, you create space for His blessings to flow. Heaven responds to sound. Praise is the sound that invites His hand to move. You don't wait until the blessing shows up to praise. You praise while it's on the way. Praise is the sign of faith that says, I believe it before I see it. That kind of faith unlocks blessings in the unseen realm. Don't block your blessing with silence or complaint. Open your mouth, lift your hands, raise your voice, and let praise unlock what has been waiting to be released.